Hello and welcome to the FDA Quality and Regulatory Consultants video for our Service Execution Guide overview. In this video, we will be sharing with you a number of the tools, guides, SOPs, and forms that you will be using throughout your work with FDA Quality and Regulatory Consultants. We will begin this video by showing you our Service Execution Process Map and discussing how the majority of projects will work. This process map outlines all possible activities within a routine project. But each contract is unique and may provide additional activities or may have additional tasks highlighted for the project that are not present within the Service Execution Process Map. Please make sure to review your collaboration plan for specific details relating to your project. Now let's take a look at a routine template of a collaboration plan. The collaboration plan will provide you with the scope of your project along with the deliverables and contact information necessary to complete your project. We will review the collaboration plan in depth later in this video. For the service execution map, we will briefly take you through each role and responsibility and how each resource will work with each of these roles for a typical audit. We begin with the role of the client. Initially, the client discusses their needs with our marketing and/or business development personnel. As the project begins, the client will submit the appropriate information about the project through the audit request form and CAPA if contracted. This will allow us to identify the appropriate resource for each client's project needs. After the resource has been selected, the next step would be for the client to attend the kickoff call. The purpose of the kickoff call is for the project manager, resource, and client to discuss the audit process, applicable regulations, and as well as any other supporting information for the audit. Supplies documents requested by consultant. How documents and reports will be shared for the audit is also confirmed during the kickoff call. If the client chooses to use the FDA QR Sync document sharing portal, the project manager will confirm and grant access to those involved with the project. All this information is also documented for the client in the collaboration plan. The resource will provide a list of essential documents that they will review as part of the audit. The documents will be shared either through the FDA QR Sync portal or another method identified in the collaboration plan. The client is also responsible for reviewing the draft deliverables and providing comments within the negotiated time frame. The client will also be responsible for reviewing, responding, and follow up in any CAPAs per contract that would have been issued during the audit. At the completion of the audit, a survey will be issued to the client for feedback on the process. Now let's explore the role of an auditee. The responsibilities for the auditee would be considering and accepting dates for the audit based on the consultant's and client's availability as well as the audit needs. The auditee will also be responsible for reviewing a draft of the agenda and providing comments if necessary. The auditee would actively participate throughout the audit and provide input as well as any necessary materials to the resources to support the audit through completion. The auditee is also going to be responsible for responding to observations from the audit as needed. The auditee will also be responsible for reviewing any of the CAPAs with the resource that would have been issued during the course of the audit. This would include providing responses as well as any action plans created based on the CAPAs. Finally, the auditee will receive a survey to provide their feedback on the process at the completion of the audit. Now let's review management's role in the service execution process map. Management begins by initiating an introductory email to the client for the audit, introducing the project manager. They work closely with the resource manager to identify and assign the appropriate resources for the audit. Management is also responsible for negotiating rates and issuing purchase orders to the resources for the project. They will check in throughout the project with the client to answer any questions, gauge the progress of the audit, and address any concerns that the client may have. Management will provide support to the client and triage any escalated issues throughout the life cycle of the project. FDA Quality and Regulatory Consultants sends out surveys for all of our projects to evaluate our performance as well as identify any areas of improvement. We appreciate the feedback we receive as it helps us identify areas of improvement for the services that we provide. Now we will explore the responsibilities of our resources. The overarching responsibility of our resources is to follow the FDA QRC Quality Management System QMS or client-specific requirements whenever applicable. This would include using the style guide for preparing the deliverables, email templates, and report templates. The first place a resource should become familiar with is the FDA QR console portal, which is located in our FDA QR sync. This secure portal provides our resources with all the necessary templates, guides, and information to support your work with us. Begin your journey with us by diving into the subfolders and exploring everything we have to show you. Once you're in FDA QR Console, one of the first documents you should review is the Consultant Handbook. This is a guide for you and your work with us. It contains policies and procedures, practices, general information, and guidelines on how to do your work with FDA QRC. Next, you'd want to review our style guide. Our style guide goes over all the requirements, outlines, fonts, font sizing, dating convention, formatting, and objective writing style that we use at FDA QRC. You will also need to become familiar with our Observation Categories Guide. This provides guidance on audit categories for the purposes of drafting an agenda, confirmation letter, and audit report observations. One of the documents that you use quite often is our audit report template. This is used for most of our standardized routine audits and can also be found on the FDA QR console portion of our FDA QR sync portal. Please become familiar with the template, and should you have any questions, please reach out to your project manager. Now that you've become familiar with our guides, templates, and policies, and you're ready to begin your first project with us, the consultant contract begins when they sign their purchase order through DocuSign or any other e-signature tool. Your purchase order will look similar to this. When you're reviewing your purchase order, please ensure that you've reviewed all the information. By signing this purchase order, you are agreeing to work the allotted hours provided for preparation, conduct, and deliverables. The next step is to review and provide comments on the collaboration plan. The resource is to provide feedback to the project manager after reviewing the collaboration plan. This is the resource's opportunity to ask questions and truly understand the scope of the audit as well as the expected deliverables. A collaboration plan is a document that the project manager creates. Here's an example of a collaboration plan template. The collaboration plan is a centralized plan that includes the contract details, scope. It will also identify the type of audit being performed. It identifies the QMS that will be used, where and how documents will be shared, whether we will be using the FDA QR Sync document sharing portal or another tool being provided to the resource by the client, observation categories, deliverables, an outline of the communication plan, escalation plan for any issues that would arise during the audit, as well as any other pertinent information relating to the audit. Once the client and resource have had an opportunity to review the document and provide the project manager with feedback, the collaboration plan is finalized and distributed. The next step for the resource is to attend the kickoff call and confirm portal access. The kickoff call is attended with the project manager and the client to discuss the audit. The kickoff call is also when the client and resource would confirm if they are able to access the documents in the FDA QR Sync portal or any other document sharing tool being utilized for the audit. The resource uses the kickoff call to discuss the conduct of the audit and what the client can expect during the audit. The kickoff call is also used to ensure that the client and resource have a clear understanding of the client needs and audit expectations, timelines, and deliverables. Next, the resource would complete training on any client-specific materials used during the audit. The resource will complete the training based on the client's requirements. Any documents or training acknowledgments would be shared with the client and project manager following the completion of the training. The resources are now ready to book their travel. Please reference the Consultant's Handbook. Please look under Section 5, Number 1 in regards to travel arrangements with FDA QRC. Consultants who use the FDA QRC travel agency are required to complete a traveler profile form to expedite your request. Next, the resource would fill out an online travel request form. Here's an example of what the FDA QRC travel request form would look like. The resource would book their travel using the FDA QRC specified travel agency after confirming with the project manager that the travel arrangements have been approved. If the client is arranging and approving the travel, you would continue to work through the project manager to ensure all the necessary approvals have been secured and documentation has been provided. Please note that a project manager must pre-approve any international or business class tickets. Anything booked outside this process will not be reimbursed unless the PM approved prior to booking. Now that the travel has been booked, the resource is ready to begin issuing the confirmation letter, agenda, and audit plan as required. Note that an audit plan is not required for all projects. If you are unsure, please confirm with your project manager. For the FDA Quality and Regulatory Consultant templates, you'd want to revisit the FDA QR console located within the FDA QR Sync portal. In this FDA QR console, you will find all the templates you would need during a typical audit. Now let's take a look at what the confirmation letter template would look like. The confirmation letter includes details of the audit such as date, times, locations, etc. The confirmation letter also provides a high-level summary of activities involved with the audit. We also have an FDA QRC agenda template. You will use these templates for your services with us unless the client has provided standardized templates that they would like used for the audit. The agenda is typically shared with the client in draft format to ensure that the audit schedule and interview times are feasible based on everyone's availability. The resource is now ready to request preparation materials from the auditee or client. All requests for preparation documents will be made prior to the audit as needed. Whenever you're requesting preparation materials from the client, we also have an email template that should be used and is also located on FDA QR Consult. Please continue to copy the project manager whenever requesting preparation materials for the project. Here's an example of what the preparation materials template would look like. The consultant is now ready to begin conducting the audit. The audit should be conducted according to the audit plan or collaboration plan. Following the audit, if an auditee was involved, the resource would send them a thank you. As you can see, we've now made it through our top line of responsibilities under the role of a resource for our service execution process map. If during the audit there is a potential reportable event, such as an unreported serious adverse event, critical observations, or a serious breach, a draft notification should be sent to QC for review and the project manager should be immediately notified. Please use the QC mailbox when submitting the draft. We also have an email template that should be used. The email template can be found under the FDA QR Consult portal. When an event of this magnitude is initially discovered, you should immediately contact the project manager as you begin drafting the notification so that we can change or modify the focus of the audit if needed. These types of events must be reported to the client in writing within 24 hours. Again, these notifications need to be submitted and approved through our QC process first. Use the templates for the notification. Once the QC has been completed and you receive the approval from the project manager only, then can the written notification be shared with the client. Remember to copy the project manager on the communication with the client. The event escalation plan is also detailed within the collaboration plan for the project. Now the draft deliverables per the collaboration plan. After the audit is complete, the draft for deliverables will be produced within the time frame required, which is also stated within the audit plan if applicable, or your collaboration plan. At least 2 days prior to the due date, the deliverable will be sent to the FDA QRC using the QC mailbox. Once the deliverable has undergone a QC, the deliverable will be sent back. The resource will then revise per the QC review, working with our project manager or the QC reviewer as needed. With no further question and/or clarifications needed, the resource would then provide the draft to the client no later than the due date. The draft deliverable should be saved in Microsoft Word format and numbered as a version 0.x. X stands for the number that would have been approved through the QC process with the reviewer at FDA QRC. Per your collaboration plan for the project, you would post the deliverable to either the FDA QR Sync portal or any other method decided upon and stated within your collaboration plan. Once the draft deliverable has been sent to the client, the resource would then follow up to ensure the client's comments have been received and incorporate it into the deliverable. Once the comments have been incorporated into the deliverable, it would be saved as version 1.0. Version 1.0 is returned to the client as a Microsoft Word document as well as a PDF. If the client does not accept, provide comments and/or feedback within 10 business days, or as stated within your collaboration plan deliverable date, a second reminder should be sent, allowing for up to an additional 5 business days. If client comments were significant, including removal of observations or changing severity grade of observations or rewording to change meaning of text pertinent observations, then the deliverable should be sent back to QC for a second round of review. Following QC, the resources would work with the QC reviewer to address any of their comments, edits, etc. The resource is now ready to issue the audit certificate. The audit certificate can be issued at any time following the completion of the audit by the resource. An audit certificate template can be found at FDA QR Consult. It'd be located under the FDA QRC materials. Here's an example of what an audit certificate would look like. Please make sure to include the scope of the audit in the audit certificate as well as any applicable regulations. Your audit certificate can then be signed via DocuSign or another e-signature tool identified for use with the audit. The resource is now ready to send version 1.0 of the deliverable to the auditee for responses. Based on the auditee's response, the draft may be revisited until accepted. Once we've reached an acceptable deliverable with the auditee, the resource will send the deliverable with the responses to the client for approval. The resource will follow up within 15 business days or otherwise agreed upon date stated in your collaboration plan. If the responses are not received, it will be escalated to the client contact that is also listed at the top of your collaboration plan. Again, remember to copy your project manager on all correspondence. If the responses are unacceptable, contact the project manager to determine the next steps in reviewing revised responses. If the responses are acceptable, the deliverable and responses are sent to the client using version 2.0, and the resource will issue both Microsoft Word document as well as a PDF version of the deliverable. The resource will complete surveys as necessary per the PM for the project. Lastly, once the resource is notified by the PM, they will destroy all documents associated with the project with the exception of purchase orders and sign the destruction certificate via DocuSign or any other e-signature tool identified for use during the project. Here's an example of what the destruction certificate would look like. Again, the resource would list the project ID and use either DocuSign or an e-signature tool to sign off on the destruction certificate. And the destruction certificate can be found again at the FDA QR Consult portal. When the client submitted their audit request form, they may have also contracted for CAPAs to be included with their audit. CAPAs would be issued at the time of the final deliverable or version 2.0. The CAPAs would be instituted and have associated timelines for review. The resources would monitor the due date and provide responses back to the client about the success of their CAPAs. Now we will review the role of a project manager. The project manager will begin by reviewing the client proposal and audit request form. Next, the PM will begin to reach out to the resource through a welcome email with all the necessary information about the FDA QRC processes involved with the project. The project manager would also create the project-specific portal in FDA QR Sync. Once the portal has been created, the PM would send out a welcome email with instructions to the resources as well as the client and any other parties that would be involved with document sharing for the project. The project manager is also responsible for introducing the resource to the client and/or auditee. Next, the PM would draft the collaboration plan and any necessary action items and send out to the resource and client for review. They are also responsible for scheduling the kickoff call with the client and the resource to discuss the scope of the project and the deliverables as described in the collaboration plan, as well as receive any clarifications that still might be needed. The collaboration plan is a living document and will be updated accordingly throughout the project. Whenever any changes have occurred, the PM will distribute the newest version of the collaboration plan to the client, resource, and/or auditee. The project manager will also review the resource's time, travel, and expense requests for the project. Any travel requests that involve international or business class tickets must be pre-approved by the project manager. Anything booked outside of this process will not be reimbursed unless the PM approved prior to booking. Whenever the resource isn't sure about a travel expense, they should consult the PM on the matter. The PM will be available throughout the course of the project and will escalate any issues as needed. For this reason, the project manager should be copied on all correspondence between the client, the resource, and/or auditee. As mentioned above, the PM will be the point of communication with resources and will address any issues or escalations necessary throughout the life cycle of the project. The project manager will also send out an auditee survey. The project manager or a designated QC reviewer will QC the deliverables and return it to the resource. Next, the project manager or designated QC reviewer will complete a QC feedback form. If contracted, the project manager would oversee the CAPA process throughout the project. This would include working with the resource and client in ensuring any CAPAs or action plans have been followed, approved, and agreed upon. The project manager will complete an internal survey following the audit. The project manager is also responsible for initiating the archival process per the FDA QRC destruction policy. This would include providing destruction certificates and working with the resource to ensure all the project-related documents, with the exception of purchase orders, have been destroyed and notifying the client of archival. And that is our overview of the Service Execution Process Map. The Service Execution Map, along with the handbook, are available through FDA QR Consult or in PDF format. Contact your respective project manager should you have any questions. We look forward to working with you. Thank you.